I'm just really excited to talk to you a little bit about going Mojave Green. This is a segment we're going to do on our sustainable learning site about what we are trying to do, what the Slade family is trying to do. Over here to our right is the learning center itself. We're also planning to live there. And this is just an experiment in how do we do better with the resources that we're given. We're standing here this morning, late fall, perfect temperature. This is the Mojave Desert at its absolute best. We're actually standing right on the edge of a Joshua Tree community, Joshua Tree woodland community. And that's really the signature community for Mojave Desert. What makes it so special, we've got 4 or 5 major species. The Joshua Tree, the yucca is the main one. But they're the signature of the desert and what makes it so special. And we've got a desert that is under tremendous pressure. It's one of the most biodiverse deserts in the world, many endangered and threatened species. And we've got 20 million people just over that hill over there in the LA Basin, San Diego Basin. They love to come out and use it. And we want them to use it. We want them to engage with it. But I guess the message we want to share is who are the people and the ideas and the principles that are having us use this better. We've got this tremendous resource, pretty unspoiled at this moment actually, because 80% of it's owned by government agencies and managed by government agencies. Very stretched government agencies. They're multiple use. They need all the uses. We're struggling right now with huge solar plants over 50 miles away from here, and worried a little bit about the amount of degradation of this resource, this beautiful desert that's causing. But we're trying to balance those things. We know that we need economic development. So we need those jobs that are going to come from that renewable energy. We need the social structure that it's going to build up. It'll build up whole towns and communities. And then we do need our natural life support system, this environment, to be kept healthy. We know we cannot continue to degrade it at the rate we're degrading it. So this is our experiment. We're trying to do a couple of principles that are kind of fun. I love the idea of an eco footprint. That's the idea that we can do better. We don't have to make such a big footprint on the earth. Americans are pretty bad at this. We use a huge percentage of the world's resources, up to 40% of some resources. And we can do better. We can reduce that, and I believe have a better way of life, a more fulfilling way of life. We're giving back. We're leaving a future for our kids, which is really what sustainability means when we learn how to balance these things better. We're not wasting as much. We're not so consumer driven that we've sort of got in some habits of doing. So it's some really simple technology. This was a matter of coming out to the site and just looking at it and looking and seeing this beautiful hill that goes up here behind us and saying, you know, if we dig this building back into the hill, we can take advantage of the fact that in the desert, the earth will maintain its temperature at about low 60s all year round. So why not help heat and cool this house with that? How about let's look at another basic principle, which is mimicking the natural cycle. So we've got a resource up in the Sacramento Valley, a waste product, that they're having a tough time dealing with it, and that's straw bales, the straw that's left over after they harvest the rice. And how do we use that? Because they actually have banned them from burning that anymore. It's not actually a good farming practice to put all of that back into the soil, and I could explain that at another time. But how do we use that? Well, it turns out straw bales are an addendum to straw bale buildings, addendum to the California Building Code, well recognized, incredible insulation factors, easy to work with, a great way that people can get engaged themselves and take ownership of their houses. Wonderful look when it's done, looks like adobe. We're going to plaster a lot of this house interior with the natural clays from around here, different colors, and get a very natural look inside. So that's just another principle we're working on, and just getting really excited because we're getting to a stage now where we can really start sharing this via the website. And then also we're looking forward to our first green building sort of Mojave Green workshop, which is coming up at the end of this month. So Hopefully you guys can, some people pick this up and join us, because the web and this new technology, this simple way of sharing these ideas is what needs to get done, because there's a lot of people out there working on these kinds of changes. They estimate maybe 50,000 social action groups working on various parts of sustainability. And one of the things that's really needed is to share that with the rest of the world. And you know, I'm hopeful that somewhere in my homeland of Zululand in South Africa, somebody could pick this up and say, man, I got some straw, I got place. I don't have a lot of financial resources, but I got a good back, and I can dive in and make a difference.
Looking at the our little solar system, photovoltaic system, very simple, easy way to go. Still a little bit on the inefficient side as far as technologies go. Out here in the desert with the tremendous expansion we're having now, we're moving towards definitely being, including the Antelope Valley, a little west from us, being the largest solar wind producing area in the world by a long shot. And photovoltaic panels, these are one of the simpler, one of the least efficient, however, but there's a number of competing technologies that we'll talk about in other videos, including wind, but we've tried to keep ours really simple, just a few panels. Again, I think it's about rethinking how we live. What if I do our laundry during the day, and what if we have a refrigerator that turns itself off at night? Then we could take advantage of much less solar energy capacity, because the batteries are in that container behind us there. And the batteries are really the Achilles heel. It's extremely hard to store this energy. So that's one of the really tricky parts with all of this. Looking to the left there at a straw bale wall. That's our front entrance and sort of an experiment. And then great way to get started, which is again recycling a shipping container, and we've actually clad that in straw on the other side there. And then looking across to our little temporary structure, which is an outdoor kitchen and an old Airstream trailer that, again, recycled. It was pretty much done its day. We've plumbed it, put a real toilet in it that my wife's very excited about. And then we have an outdoor kitchen that is a way to still cook outside, enjoy the outside, and in this climate can be used most of the year, because we really have a fairly mild climate. We just need some shade in the summer is one of the big things. And then off to the other side of that, we're looking at our composting toilet. And great little thing. I think we're probably the first composting toilet that's been approved on a temporary building site that we know of here in the Mojave Desert. And just a really fun way to go. Works fantastically well, opposed to a pit toilet. Doesn't smell. We just joke that, when you come here and we offer you a salad, you should just make sure you know how the tomatoes were grown, or the tomatoes. So, looking at the actual structure, it's a metal structure, which should surprise some people. We'd think that's resource heavy, but one of the things you need to look at in this kind of building is life cycle costs. Just want to think about things differently. Our whole economy, our whole world thinks very short term right now, but this metal structure has 60% recycled materials for one thing, but it's literally going to last forever. And so the straw bales in this system are really infill. They're just the walls. California does not approve weight bearing, so this is what's called a post and beam structure. And it looks huge, and it is fairly big, but most of it's going to be open space underneath the structure. With about actually a 2,000 foot actual building and the learning center itself. So just amazing use of different resources. The roof is a metal roof with the new paints that are highly reflective, and so they reduce the radiation onto the top of the roof.